All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Versatility Podcast. And I am your host, Juelz. And I'm glad you all could make it back. This is episode 6. Uh this is episode 6. I didn't post 2 episodes last week, but things happen. So this is episode 6. It's just me here today. No one else this time. So we'll see how this goes. Might be a little shorter episode than usual. But nonetheless, we're gonna get into some topics, just vibe and stuff like that. I do welcome any and all opinions. So if you do have something you want to say to me or want to start a conversation or something like that, please go to my Instagram at JUELZ, then an underscore, which is like, the little line underneath, whatever, IS. And hit me up. We can have some discussions, something like that, especially since I don't have a guest today. Really anytime though, just go on my social. And I should have a link tree in my bio of my Instagram, and you can see any of my other socials as well as the official page for the Versatility Podcast. So without further ado, hope everybody's doing wonderful, and let's get into this. So today is Wednesday, January 20th, which for me means I get to read another chapter of Boruto. Shout out to all my manga fans out there. But more importantly, um, it is Inauguration Day for President Joseph I think it's R. Biden. Congratulations. Congratulations, President Biden. You are now the first president after Donald J. Trump. It feels like it gets a release after that. There's a lot of work to do though, but I know some people are still skeptical about Joseph Biden. I was going to say Doctor President Joseph Biden, Joe Biden, but I feel like this is a step in the right direction. He may not be everybody's ideal or a lot of people's ideal candidate or president, but he's better, at least from my perspective, and most people in the world's perspectives, I would say, than who we just had. I feel like Biden is not against me, blatantly against me as just being a person of color. I feel like he's not, just flat out just racist and just all that type of stuff. So I really do appreciate that, at the very least. Whether he does shady stuff or something like that, I can't really speak on it. I don't like to get into conspiracy theories and things of that nature, but I do know that I will judge a man based off of what he will do. I acknowledge the past, the predator stuff and the crime law in the 80s. I think it was the 1980s crime law. I acknowledge that those things have happened. I also do acknowledge that he and other people, because he was one of the leaders of it, do feel not remorse, but what's the word I'm looking for? Feels sorry that happened, I guess, or apologize or regrets that happened. And whether he does or doesn't truly, I don't know the man. I can only hear what other people say about him or what he says, and that that could potentially be fabricated and stuff like that. So I like to judge a man based off of his actions. So what is he going to do for me, my people, the Black community, and just America as a whole? In his inauguration speech, he spoke a lot about unity, because Donald Trump clearly divided us these past 4 years. I've never seen the line um, just be so visible between Democrats and Republicans. It's I don't think it's ever been like this. Now, granted, I wasn't into politics as much. I'm barely into politics now, but at least now I know of it, especially me being 19 years old. I voted for the first time. So I wasn't exactly into politics to really know how bad the line was previously, but it seems like in this day and age, especially with social media and everything, Democrats and Republicans have been at their throats continuously, especially in this last year, amidst the pandemic of all times. It just it feels ridiculous to me that I understand all these decisions are impacting lives and stuff like that, but you should not be at each other's throats like this. There's a such thing called compromise. I don't know if a lot of people have heard of it before, but compromise is a real thing, and it seems like 99.99999% of our government does not know how to compromise. Of course, you're supposed to stand your position and stuff like that, but I feel as though there's a certain point where you can find common ground to get one goal now and then another later, or a bit of one goal now to get a bit of that same goal and another goal later. And I feel like everybody wants what they want now, and that's the issue with government and politics and all that stuff. Everybody wants their absolute truth, their absolute answers right away. That is not how the world works, unless you like overthrow the government or something like that. But then that's not really democracy. That's dictatorship, or a coup, or anarchy or something like that. So, but with due process and things of that nature, the only way for you to get what you want is to have to talk to others, and discussions and negotiations and things of that nature to find a solution that best benefits majority size of the party. I mean, of each party. And I feel like America needs to do better at that. And I hope that President Biden can be the answer for that right now, in the short run for now. And then hopefully in the long run, presidents from now on, whether you are Democratic or Republican, can follow the example of trying to unite people instead of tear them apart from each other, tear them away from each other, split them up, divide them, because that is not what this democracy, what this country should be about. We are the United States of America, meaning we have our independency, but when push comes to shove, we are supposed to come together and work as one to solve our issues, and solve our problems, and just things of that nature. And I think that needs to be emphasized in his inauguration speech. And everything he's really said, majority of everything that he said throughout his campaign has been geared towards the fact that no matter if you're Republican or Democratic, I am going to be your president. I want to work together with you all, whether that's Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, any of the other Republicans, any other Democrats, or random people. It doesn't really matter. That's really been his stance, and I appreciate that, because now I know at least, at the very least, we will have diplomacy. We will, so that the name of the president, as tarnished as it's been from a social standpoint, in terms of the diplomacy standpoint, in terms of the way that President Trump went about his actions, his tweets, the demeaning comments, turning on people after they were for him just because they lost or something, just all that type of stuff. We're not going to be seeing that. At least we won't be seeing it as much with President Biden, and I can appreciate that. And my one question for Mr. Biden, President Biden, I got used to saying President Biden. I don't know why I'm struggling with that. But the one thing I would say about him, my one question is, pertains to racism, and just really like just all these main issues right now for the Black community and stuff, because I am a Black man. young black man. I'm a young black man. Off topic, but what are you going to do when the mainstream media is not talking about racism anymore? Will you slow down and just put it on the back burner, or are you actually still going to fight it whether or not it's on the front page of the news? Because a lot of presidents and just really people in general only attack the issue when it's, you know, in the limelight, or like, you know, George Floyd, after the George Floyd murder, or after Philando Castile, after Trayvon Martin. But what about the time in between? What have they done in that time in between to make sure it does not happen again? Are you putting enough effort into programs and policies to actually help Black people, and then not wait until another one is lying dead on the floor because of some racist or some racial profiling or just anything of that nature? Because a lot of people want to help already when the damage is done. What are you doing before an action can even be made to where it's such a big outcry? Are you going in the Black community and helping policies and stuff like that? Are you cracking down on things like gerrymandering? And how are you helping the Black community when we're not on the front page of the news? Because that's real help. When you're helping when nobody asked you to help, or when like it's not the center of attention. It's easier to help somebody when there's a quick reward, especially in terms of publicity and stuff like that. But are you going to help us when we really need it? Not when we really need it. Are you going to help us when we're not crying out because we're on the front page? And that's really my main thing with President Biden. Is it all talk right now? I mean, because I don't know. I don't know if it is or isn't, because even though everybody gives him a good rep and stuff like that, and I think he's a good guy, genuinely. I from what I've seen, I don't know the man personally, but I think he seems like a pretty decent human being. But your actions are going to determine if I truly believe your words, because your words should support your actions, and your actions should support your words. So I just for me and a lot of Black people, really, we just want to know, are you going to follow through? Because we've heard a lot of promises over the years, but are you going to follow through? And that could potentially not even be his call for a lot of things, because, you know, you have to get through the Senate and House and stuff like that. But are you going to continuously make that effort? But yeah, that's enough of that. I'm not really a politics type of guy like that, but you know, I had to speak my piece about Biden and, you know, Trump like that. Sayonara, Trump. See you next time. You are a public citizen. We will see what happens with that. Okay, so next on my list, for all you basketball fans out there, I have the Kyrie Irving situation with the Brooklyn Nets. I am a Bucks fan, so you know, I have no prejudice or anything towards the Nets. I feel like this is going to be a great year in general for my team and for your team, because you have James Harden now. You acquired him a week ago, which is very interesting in terms of what everybody in the league needs to look out for. But basically what I'm trying to say is Kyrie has received a lot of hate recently. For those who don't know, for being absent from games. He's missed 7 straight games. And for at least the first 2 or 3, he did not tell like really a single soul as to why he was out. Now you could put things together, because he was out after, it was like a day after the Jacob Blake thing. And I think it was the same day. Correct me if I'm wrong, people, but it was the same day of the Capitol thing. I wanted to say massacre. It's not a massacre. That was 2 weeks ago. That's crazy. But and it was the same week of the whole Capitol debacle or terrorist attack on the Capitol. So, you could put things together and say, oh, well, okay, it was probably because of that. He's spoken briefly on his mental health and stuff like that as to why he's had issues and things of that nature in the past, but he didn't really say anything again. And of course, the media and stuff is going to make their accusations and things of that nature because that's what the media does. And I can't blame them; it's their job. But at the same time, can we not condemn a man who hasn't even spoken? It's a really peculiar situation, because then he didn't even make his situation. He made his situation worse when he went to a family birthday party on the same day, or like in the same span of the games and stuff, like the games that he was supposed to play. So that made it even worse. Like, oh, you can go to a birthday party, but you can't go to a basketball game and do your job. And again, I try not to make any assumptions as to what is going on in his mind and what's going on in his head or what he's dealing with, but it's not the greatest look. So it's kind of hard to defend him. At the same time, though, like I don't want to condemn him because I don't know what he's going through. And so I came to the conclusion when I heard Stephen A. Smith, pretty famous. He's a pretty famous analyst and stuff like that for ESPN, probably their biggest analyst moneymaker. But when he said that it's not the issue that you potentially have mental health stuff and all that stuff going on, we totally get that. But it's the fact that you didn't tell anybody that was the reason you stepped away. Hence why a week earlier, Stephen A. made the comment that Kyrie Irving should just retire because he doesn't seem like basketball is his priority. And I can see why he said that. I still, Stephen A., I think that was a bit excessive. I think that was a bit excessive. But at the same time, though, I understand where he's coming from because he doesn't know. And as an analyst, as a media person, you have to connect the dots as much as possible so that you can give the people an answer as to how you feel about the situations. But at the same time, why condemn him at the same time, though? It's just very interesting. It is really interesting to me how we all want to have an answer right away. And I understand it's in his contract to talk to media. I understand it's in his contract to talk to the team, tell them what's going on with him. Can't just miss games for no reason. At the same time, clearly there's something wrong with him. And if you can make an assumption that he doesn't care about basketball enough, then I can also make the assumption or you can also make the assumption that clearly something is wrong with him mentally, because he stated these things previously. So why condemn him when you know he's had a track record of saying he's been dealing with some things? So that's why I just don't like media, because we don't want to give people the benefit of the doubt, because what gives people clicks or what's more enticing or what's the better argument is the fact that something bad is happening. Gets people talking and stuff like that. I'm not saying Stephen A. wanted to get clicks and stuff like that, but I mean, I don't know. It's just really weird. It's a really weird topic of discussion for me, because I really don't like social media and how I love how everybody has an opinion, but some of these opinions and stuff like that, we have freedom of speech. I get it, but it's just crazy how people think. And then I don't know if you actually think that, or if you're just saying that so somebody can respond to it so you can grab attention. It's really a very interesting what's the word? An interesting thing. I'll just say thing that we have going on. And specifically here in the US, because land of the free, freedom of speech, press, and all that fun stuff. But Kyrie Irving did say eventually that he was dealing with mental health stuff and he really didn't want to talk about it. He really just didn't want to say anything about it, but he did say he apologized. He talked to all his teammates, stuff like that, and he cleared it up. And I get what Stephen A. in general is saying of how you should just let them know. But at the same time, sometimes a man don't want to let nobody know no more. Sometimes a man just wants a break. Sometimes a man or woman just wants to be left alone. And as selfish as that seems, until you actually deal with that, until you actually like really put yourselves in their shoes, I don't think a lot of people would understand. Because basketball players, politicians, all these public figures, they're all people and they all deal with things. And I understand you want us to at least give you a general idea of what's going on. Sometimes people are just tired, man. Especially black people, man. Black people, we just tired. Just tired. And sometimes you just don't want to give people an explanation as to what's going on in our lives. Especially if you're famous and you're always in the limelight and you always have criticism. Somebody always got something negative to say about you. And with social media, you literally can go on there and you see all these mentionings of your name, these ads, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. Or I just want to break. And yeah, it's really just a lot. So I feel like a lot of us really need to just take a step back from these people because they have lives and they have personalities, they have feelings. And at the end of the day, without their influence or without whatever talent they have, they're just a normal person at the end of the day. And even with it, they're just a normal person at the end of the day. And I think we all have to remember that. Yeah, yeah. Sorry if I got you guys a little lost there and missed my rambling and stuff like that. But I do have another sports related topic real quick I'm gonna talk about. So I heard Shannon Sharp and Colin Cowherd, two pretty good analysts. One works for not Undisputed, but Fox Sports. Yeah, Fox Sports. Colin Cowherd works for Fox Sports, and then Shannon Sharp also works for Fox Sports. Yeah, I messed that up, butchered that. But they said this is a basketball related question. Oh, not even basketball, just football and basketball. But they both said over the last year or so, especially Shannon Sharp recently, they said Lamar Jackson reminds me of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the starting power forward and superstar player, supermax superstar player for the Milwaukee Bucks. And Lamar Jackson is a young stud, a really great player, infinite type of potential for the Baltimore Ravens. Shout out to all my Baltimore people out there and Baltimore Ravens fans. But when I hear this quote, I remember at first I was like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It's two different sports. But when you really look into it, Lamar Jackson runs a lot. And if you take away his athleticism and his running, which isn't exactly fair because, this is part of his game. But if you take that away, you have about probably an average, maybe sometimes above average and maybe below average at times, throwing quarterback. And that's not that good anymore. He just can't hit from long distance consistently. Now, partially that is because he doesn't have a lot of receivers and stuff like a lot of super great receivers that can get open. from what I saw in the games. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But where the comparison lies is because Giannis relies a lot on his athleticism and being able to get to the rim. And getting to the rim is very similar to running the ball in football, because it doesn't. Well, it takes skill. It definitely takes skill and stuff like that to get in there, but athleticism plays a big part in that, speed and stuff like that. Whereas throwing, you need a bit more IQ and stuff like that. And so that's where that comparison is, because it's two young players who rely on athleticism, but can't exactly hit from long distance. Giannis is not a great shooter. He's getting much better. And Lamar isn't really a great passer, but he's getting much better. And they both will struggle typically in the playoffs because they can't hit from long distance to make those plays when need be. Because at the end of the day, it's easier to get a shot off or a playoff in the pocket for Lamar than it would be to try to run past everybody in the defense, scrambling at that. And for Giannis, it'd be easier to get a shot off because probably gonna leave him open anyway, because he's not as good as a shooter. He is getting better though. I think he's shooting like 30 some percent from three this year. And he's hitting his mid ranges more often as well. So he's really progressing. I'm really happy for that. Got him for 5 years. So, I feel like he's going to get better. So in the playoffs, that's a liability that they can't hit from long distance. Both of them just can't hit from long distance consistently. So that's where that comparison is. So I get it. But at the same time, they're both like super young. I think Lamar and Giannis are both 26 and under. I think Lamar's 24, 25, 26, somewhere in that. It's only his third year, and it's only Lamar's third year in the league. It's Giannis's seventh or eighth year in the league. So, they have time to progress, but, it seems like until they get that long distance game down, that is going to be very hard for them to win in the playoffs. They're always going to win in the regular season because you just not enough time to prepare, and it's the season, and you're gonna go against weak teams, then good teams. But when it gets to the nitty and gritty, and we need to make a play for Lamar, you're gonna be able to make that throw, and for Giannis, you're gonna be able to make that shot. Or is your supporting cast gonna be good enough? Because this is the other thing that people don't realize as well. Is your supporting cast going to be good enough to where you do not need to make those spectacular long distance plays? Because both sports are team games. So you can rely on your teammates more. Of course, media is going to say, oh, that's a cop-out. He really didn't improve. But, I mean, it's a team game. So if Giannis has shooters around him and people who can hit those last-second shots from distance, or he's able to set those screens and then be open in the paint more, and he doesn't have to ball handle as much, and he can just be a dominant force in the paint, or whether he gets a consistent three-point shot or something like that. It's all just really based on circumstances, how the teams work around all that. So that'll be very interesting for Giannis, because he's getting more people who can make those plays and make those decisions to where he does not have to have the ball in his hands 24/7. I mean, even with LeBron in Miami and Cleveland, stuff like that. Cleveland, the year they won, not the year when he carried them to the finals, but then got swept. Which isn't his fault, really. He had people who assisted him, who helped him win. LeBron without AD in that finals, it's not the same. In the whole playoffs, actually, it's not the same at all. Everybody needs help, even the greats. Jordan couldn't win without Pippen. I mean, I swear, I feel like if you gave him someone else that was really good too, he can win with them. But everybody needs people to win. So yes, Lamar and Giannis can't do it from long distance like that. But if they have the right supporting cast and they also continue to improve, they both can be major forces in the league. They're already forces in the regular season, but they can be even bigger forces in the playoffs if they have both. And if they have one, then I still don't even know if you have enough. And that's the crazy thing. Get Lamar get Lamar some receivers. Lamar, keep working on the game. You've been improving steadily. And for Giannis, keep working on that shot. And the Bucks organization, make sure y'all keep surrounding him with people who can make plays for themselves as well as shoot the three ball. And yeah, so that's about all I have for today. I'll say some other questions when I get another guest on here, but I appreciate everybody for tuning into this podcast. Thanks for sticking out to the end. I noticed a little difference. This is just me. Hopefully I didn't bore you a bit too much, but but I'm grateful for everybody who has been tuning into the podcast. I think we're almost at 50 total plays, so that's really good. Slow but steady. So hopefully enough people listen to this and just stuff like that. And love you all. God bless. Shout out President Biden. And how could I forget to mention, and the first ever Black vice president, woman at that, Indigenous, Kamala Harris. Congratulations to her as well. Don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I had to say it once again because I'm very happy about that. Again, same thing applies to her with Biden. Track record, I get it. Done other things to the Black community that were harmful to us and stuff like that. But I see that you have, regretted that and stuff like that. But I want to see what you do now. I could care less. I don't care less. But again, I acknowledge your past. What you gonna do in the future? What you gonna do in my present to help us now and help the whole world in general? I mean, not the whole world, help the whole country in general. Not to make up for that mistake, but just to move forward. So again, thank you all for joining the podcast. I really appreciate it. And sayonara. Peace out.